Okay, so I'm just going to shoot this kind of one shot stream of consciousness, just one flow. And if it doesn't work, then I'll have to reshoot it another time. But I'm really just going to kind of shoot from the hip here, off the cuff, unscripted. So if you're looking for some sort of immediate kind of dopamine hit style video, this is not going to be the video for you. So long story short, I have been struggling to post. And if you're a follower of my channel, or if you've been, you've seen some of my other videos and you're waiting for more, I want to just acknowledge kind of why that is and speak a bit about what I want to be talking about moving forward and the way I want to move forward with my channel. And just share a bit of energy with you guys and share a bit of what's going on, because there's so much. And I know it's a really loaded time in the world right now, especially in America here. And I know there's a lot of stress and a lot going on, and I want to be able to serve you. I want to really be able to help you. If you're struggling, if you're stressed out, if you're overwhelmed, I have gifts for you. But first I wanted to just kind of acknowledge that I hadn't been posting and kind of speak to why. I have been kind of struggling to define what it is I want to talk about here on the channel. Largely because I've been having a hard time trusting and believing that what I actually want to talk about would be of interest. And what that is largely the relationship between non-duality and oneness, and the all union of all things. And bridging that down into our direct human experience so that we have a way to leverage the superpower, the ultimate resource, which is the divine that exists within us always. It's always accessible to us. How do we tap into that and use that to better our lives? That's really the question that is driving all my work and always has. And I've been having kind of these trust issues, I guess, struggling with believing that there are enough of you out there who are interested in non-duality, who are interested in practical spirituality, who are interested in personal transformation coming from a very deep esoteric place. So we have these mystical experiences. How do we turn them into lasting change? How do we turn them into an integrated shift in the ego, in the identity, in the personality? So we're not in this binary, this polarity of either being egoless or being kind of in the identity. How do we leverage the healing and the transformative power of the non-dual state into something that lasts and becomes a part of you at the personality, at the ego level? That's what I'm interested in. That's what I want to offer you. And, so I kind of been following a lot of the, classic YouTuber advice. Things like, niching down, things like, kind of chunking down the information. But what I'm starting to realize is that, and also orienting towards what your problems are, which I deeply care about. But I've had to just reconcile that with the truth that there's a lot I want to say. There's a lot I want to communicate that I'm holding back. There's a lot of insight I want to give you. There's a lot of truth, and there's a way to weave and connect the dots and have this all make sense so that we have really what I think of as like a light bridge, like a rainbow light bridge between source and the ego, source and you, between the higher self and the everyday self. Because the truth is, the everyday self is the higher self. There is no division. There is no separation. But for most of us, we live in an experience of personality, in an experience of striving, struggling, asserting, iterating, trying to be something, right? Trying to express something, trying to be a self, trying to be an independent being. And since that's the kind of the level of consciousness most people are at and where we spend most of our time, all the tools I studied really are for that level. They're for the ego, they're for the identity, they're for the personality to be able to shift, to transform, to help the unconscious mind, which I believe is the bridge between the transcendent self, the divine self, the holy self, if you will, the unified field, the holy consciousness that exists inside of all of us. That natural, perfected divine self. There's a bridge between that, which is the unconscious mind, and the ego. Right? The ego would be the conscious self, the conscious mind, the prefrontal cortex, the rational mind, the left brain, if you will. And so what I've been wanting to build, what has been stirred in me since I was really in my early 20s, and I'm in my 40s now, so we're talking 20 years of study, work, figuring it out, exploring, playing, and I really believe this work never ends and is never done, and there are many facets and many dimensions to it, but just my own articulation of this work really is just starting to come into focus. And what that really is that I want to give to you and I want to offer to you is a set of tools so that you have the ability to shift the ego, shift the identity, resolve the problems that exist at that level if you've bought in that you exist at that level. But also, I want to deliver you tools and experiences and practices that help you to unplug from that paradigm altogether and remember your deeper, more expansive, more spacious, more authentic natural self, which is the divine self. So I want to build this bridge for you, for all of us, between spirit and matter, between the light and the ego, for the sake of healing, for the sake of transformation, for the sake of not feeling like we're kicked out of heaven every time we go from a non-dual experience, from a mystical experience, from a psychedelic experience, back to day-to-day consciousness. That we're able to bring the wisdom and the insight, the peace, the groundedness, the well-being, the freedom from that place into our daily lives. That to me just juices me up. That excites me. Because I think, if you want to put it in Buddhist terms, if part of the work here as a spiritual being is to help relieve the suffering of others and relieve our own suffering, which is a huge part of relieving the suffering of others, right? If that's the work, then it makes so much sense to brain fart. It makes so much sense to bridge that so that we're not kind of in this weird bipolar experience at a deep, deep level of our being. That's just, it's not true. It's not the facts of it. It's not the reality of that experience. There's no reason you need to self-abandon in order to be in your higher self. In fact, I would argue if you're self-abandoning to be in your higher self, in other words, if you're spiritually bypassing, then you're not really in your higher self. But also, the more we can enrich our daily lives and our personalities and our identities and merge them back with our deeper self, our broader self, the more at ease we'll be, the more resourceful we'll be, the more aligned we'll be, the more grounded we'll be, the more healthy we'll be, the more happy we'll be. And so this is just a win-win. Really opening up this kind of portal, kind of this bridge between your deepest self, your highest self, and your regular identity. Kind of resolving this issue, this, true integration. That's the word. So that's kind of where I'm at with this channel and where I'll be moving forward. So some of the videos I'll be making, I'll be speaking to you from a very deeply non-dual state. And then there will be other times where it might be a little more cerebral, a little more logical, a little more rational, a little more egoic, where I'm speaking to you more from a teaching mode. And the point is to help you move past whatever your issues are, whether that's, anxiety or fear or suffering or some sort of patterning that maybe your unconscious mind picked up in childhood, that it has become an ongoing problem that you don't even have the words or the ability to fully articulate and understand and identify. Or perhaps you're having breakthroughs, from microdosing or from using psychedelics or from just spiritual practice. Like maybe you're just doing Kundalini yoga every day or an intense meditation practice every day, and you're having breakthroughs, but you're having a hard time carrying that over to the most extreme parts of your life, where it's really needed. Or you have a habit you want to break through, or I hope you get my point. There's so many domains and so many areas that I'd like to serve you, but I want to root it. I want to base it in this kind of spiritual, non-dualistic perspective. And so I really hope you're all along for me with the ride. I've just started to realize that non-duality is something that people are deeply interested in. It's really, how could it not be the heart of my heart? How could it not be the core, most important thing in my life? If you've ever touched a non-dual state, like truly, there's no forgetting. There's no going back. What has been seen, what has been understood, what has been experienced and known can't be unknown. And so then the question just is, how do we make the best use of that? How do we return to that state easily? How do we return to that state often? How do we live from that state, but also, instead of having that unplug us from the world, become a resource to help us fully thrive at all levels of our being? So, wishing you well. I have more content on the way. I'm going to just start doing videos like this for a while, where I'm just speaking off the cuff, where I'm integrating multiple ideas, where I'm kind of riffing and just kind of bringing to you these pieces as I see them and as I understand them for a while, just to build connection, just to build trust with you, just to build relationship with you, the viewer, the audience. If this resonates, if this hits your heart too, if this hits home for you, if you're like, yes, we need this, please let me know. It would mean a lot to me if there's some sort of communication down below, just to know this is resonating. But even if it isn't, if this just stimulates some thought for you, some insight for you, or just some hope for you, then my job is done here. So much love, be well. There'll be more videos soon. Take care.